So here in the United States, our central bank is called the Federal Reserve. So how was it created? And who actually created the Federal Reserve private bank here in the United States? Well, for that, you're going to have to fast forward to the year 1910. And after two failed attempts, another group of bankers, wanted to establish a private central bank in the United States. Meet Senator Nelson Aldrich, a politician and businessman that most people today have never heard of Senator Aldrich. However, what he helped orchestrate in the closing years of his life still affects most of the world to this day. And what he did would actually have our country's founding fathers spinning in their graves. You see, what Senator Aldrich did is he arranged a secret meeting, with these six individuals, Paul Warburg, Frank Vanderlip, Benjamin Strong, Henry Davidson, Charles Norton, and Abe Andrews. And just understand that these six individuals represented 25% of the world's wealth at the time. So that's how powerful these bankers and these individual men were and the people that they were representing. What they did is they boarded a private train car in total secrecy. And where were they headed? Jekyll Island, Georgia, to this resort here that was frequented by J.P. Morgan and other billionaires. And over the next 9 days, the Federal Reserve was created. Frank Vanderlip, one of the individuals at this meeting, once said in one of his later memoirs, "I was as secretive indeed, as furtive, as any conspirator. Discover we knew simply must not happen, or else all of our time and effort would be wasted. If it were to be exposed that our particular group had got together and written a banking bill, that bill would have no chance whatever of passage by Congress." You see, this thing was pitched to stabilize the economy and free the people from the grip of Wall Street and the big banks. But the unfortunate thing here is that the people they were promising to stop were the ones writing the bill. And if this bill was to pass, it would give this group, what was later referred to as the Jekyll Island Group, it would give this group of powerful men the power to print currency from nothing and lend it to the government at interest. So you might be asking, why was all of this done in secret? You see, why didn't they meet, somewhere like Washington, D.C. versus Jekyll Island, Georgia? You see, back in the day, back in the early 1900s, most people knew what a central bank was. And back in the day, people did not want a central bank. You see, back then, everybody knew that everywhere there had been a central bank, there would be wealth inequality. There would be wild booms and busts in the economy. And after each and every bust, the rich would somehow magically get richer and richer, but yet the poor would become poorer and poorer. Thomas Jefferson once said, "The end of democracy and the defeat of the American Revolution will occur when government falls into the hands of lending institutions and moneyed incorporations." Originally named the Aldrich Bill, everybody knew who Senator Aldrich was and that he had worked with the banks and had many ties to the banking industry at that time. So as the Aldrich Bill, it didn't go through. The bill was later renamed the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. And they had a couple of millionaires, put it before Congress. See, but the Jekyll Island Group still had to gain public support for this. So what they did is, and this is truly a classic misinformation campaign, is that these bankers went out there and spoke against the bill that they actually created. These guys were in the newspaper saying that the Federal Reserve Act is going to destroy the banks and big business. And so they went out there and spoke out against their own bill that they created at Jekyll Island. To the common individual on the street hearing this, most people thought, well, if the bankers don't like it, then it must be good. And so unwittingly, people ended up supporting this Trojan horse, the Federal Reserve Act in 1913. And as well, they had to get it through Congress. So they put some false safeguards in there that they later removed once the bill was passed. But really just a misinformation campaign was really all it took, and a double head fake on the Congress. That's all it took. And on December 23rd, 1913, President Woodrow Wilson signed the Federal Reserve Act into law. And just like that, folks, the Federal Reserve was created. And this small group of very powerful bankers and very powerful men just acquired complete monopoly over the issuing and creation of American currency, and now have the ability to lend that currency that it creates from nothing to our own government at interest. Now, in addition to this, Senator Aldridge also led the conception of the 16th Amendment to our Constitution. Well, this amendment authorized the imposition of federal income taxes on American citizens. You see, before the Federal Reserve was created, there was no need for an income tax. Income taxes only exist so that the government has the ability to pay the interest on currency it has been obligated to borrow from the Federal Reserve since 1913. So income taxes only exist so we can pay interest to the Federal Reserve. So we got to give a big thank you to Senator Aldridge here. In the final years of Woodrow Wilson's presidency, he once said, "I am a most unhappy man. I have unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is now controlled by its system of credit. We are no longer a government of free opinion, no longer a government by conviction and the vote of the majority, but a government by the opinion and duress of a small group of dominant men." So how powerful is the Federal Reserve? Okay, what kind of controls over our economy do they have? What is it that they can actually do? Well, we are going to discuss that in the next video.